Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to walk you through how I budget my paycheck and the money mindset behind it. I feel like this is a topic that's not talked about enough, of what to do once you get your paycheck and how exactly to allocate your budget. And figured I'd do a video. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, hello, my name is Plamena. I share all things about life in your 20s, whether it comes to health, wellness, productivity, finances, and just how to be the best version of yourself. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Awesome. So I'll start off by saying that, first of all, exactly what works for you. Just because something works for somebody else does not mean that it's gonna work for you. And the main goal of this video is that if you can take away just one or two tips that actually you can take away and action them in your own budget or in your money mindset, that is great. So that is pretty much it. Like, don't everyone has a different mindset, everyone has different goals, and you really need to know what works for you. So recently I read this book. It's called I'll Teach You to Be Rich by Ramit Sethi. Great book. I'll insert it right here. Such a good book. And main reference every time is to what does a rich life mean to you. So everyone has a complete different definition of what does being rich mean to you. Does that mean having a lot of cars, having a big house? Does that mean going on lots of vacations? Does that mean owning a lot of land? Does that mean having a lot of art? Like, what does that mean to you? Everyone has a different definition, and first of all, you need to be clear on what your definition is of a rich life. So that is a big mindset shift, because there's no point in competing with what others want, because that's probably not your rich life. So another thing I want to say is, another tip is really, like, I know that budgeting and tracking your expenses can seem kind of intimidating, but at the end of the day, all you can do is control the present moment, and that means starting right away. So you know how they say, when's the best time to plant a tree? Well, that was 20 years ago, but the second best time to plant a tree is always today. So that means taking accountability and starting right away. So everyone has a different way to budget, but some people say 50 on your needs, 30 on your wants, and 20 on your savings. We're all in different phases of our life, but pretty much saving between 10 and 20% of your income is a must. So super important, and I'll share with you guys my budget in a bit here. So another thing for me personally, right now I'm in a different phase of my life where I'm really trying to save as much as I can. I'm cutting costs as much as I can, without kind of losing any, without compromising too much on the little things and the little joys in life. Try to keep those in, but also saving as much as I can. So that starts with having a budget, whether that is I know there's the Mint app. There's so many budgeting apps. There's either, you can also like physically write it out. You can use a tracker. Personally, what works best for me is using an Excel spreadsheet, a tracker that I've kind of made myself. So it really works for my needs, and just putting everything on there. The most important thing is just having a tracker that works for you and your specific needs. First of all, I love having a tracker. Number one is you always have that mindset every time you're purchasing something, whether that's online or pretty much like in person or using cash. Any of that, you are always remembering, and that's always in the back of your mind, that it is always gonna go on your tracker. There's no cheating, there's no escaping from it. So that just puts you in like a better mindset, that framework that you know it's gonna go on your budget at the end of the day. So pretty much this is what I do, and that works for me. So I'll put out all my expenses. This is a pretty easy month here, but all the expenses that I have for the entire month, and then I usually categorize them by rent, memberships, phone, if I have any school bills, groceries, restaurants, anything I bought out, coffee, hair, laser, skincare, workouts, health, trips, parking, gas, print car insurance, any transportation like Ubers and Lyfts, essentials, shopping, career, and YouTube. So all of these are kind of the main categories that I have personally. So what I'll do is at the end of the month, I will go and I'll put things in, I'll track it, I'll open both bank statements that I have pretty much from TD and Amex, and I'll just go through everything and I'll add every single bill in here. The first couple here, like rent, car insurance, groceries, gas, phone, Amazon, Amex, Canva, those don't really change, so those are kind of a staple in each month, so that's fine. But then the remaining, I always take the time to add each one of them. That pretty much categorizes them here, and then it puts them into the expenses category, which I have here. This was a pretty expensive month. Then there's a couple of categories that I consider mandatory, so necessities, where I split them off. So for example, rent, memberships, groceries, all of those, probably gas here that I have, those are all mandatory, so I'll put those out. And then I kind of call my other expenses fund money, which in the I'll Teach You to Be Rich book, he references those as guilt-free spending. So yeah, and then I'll track my cumulative income, and then all my savings and how close I am to my saving goal, which would be another tip here, is have your vision of how much you'd want to save in the entire year. Again, like, this is just me and my circumstances right now. I'm not saying everyone can save this amount of money, but I'm really trying my best to save as much as I can. Which actually brings me to my next point, which would be automating everything as much as you can. If you have a gas bill, an electric bill, credit card statement, like, nothing is more important than having a good credit score, and it means automating everything as much as you can. That's what really truly works best for me. And that way you don't need to be stressed out. It reduces that anxiety, and at the end of the month you know that all your bills are paid. So now let's go through my actual payday routine. Let's say I get paid, I have multiple sources of income. So I have a corporate job, which I get paid on there. I have a serving job that I get paid on bi-weekly, so that's another one. Okay, so now let's go through my actual payday routine for each month. So I get paid from my corporate job bi-weekly, and then my serving job bi-weekly as well, but I also get tips on the daily or whenever I work. So after I've automated everything, that's fine. Everything lands into my checking account, which is my main account, and from there first things first is I pay all the bills. So even though I have everything automated, if I've seen that something hasn't been paid or hasn't hit that due date yet, I try to pay everything in advance first. I check all the other systems like Amex, TD, all of those. I pay those bills first. Then what I do, this is what personally works for me, is I have 4 savings accounts. So then I start off and I've allocated a savings account for each goal of mine, which is another tip. Make sure you have clarity on what are your goals for this year. So my goals for this year are maxing out my TFSA, maxing out my emergency fund, having a proper wedding fund, because my wedding is in June, so I need to make sure to allocate my portion of the money, and then having a house fund, which are 4 main ones, and then I have an additional kind of side one, which is any remaining money that I have saved, that would be my investing plan. So pretty much how I've done this, I've taken the TFSA contribution limit for this year 2023, which is $6,500, divide that by 12, which just equals to $542. So every month I make sure to max that out. So that's after I've paid all my bills, I max out my TFSA, my emergency fund. I've decided I know I can save $1,000 on that. Wedding fund, I really need to save $1,000 for the first 6 months of this year at least. My wedding's in June. And then the house fund, every month I need, my partner and I are both saving $1,000 for that, and we have opened one joint account together so we can put that money in that joint account. And then any remainder just stays in my checking account and counts as investing money, which I can transfer over after. But for now, I have 4 main goals. So I'll also show you, I can also insert a picture here of how my accounts look. That way I know that every time money goes into my checking account, which is pretty much that hub of all that money that gets entered in, it gets redistributed into each saving account. And from there, the rest just stays in my checking account, and I'll usually figure that out, how I'll save that money to invest later. But for now, those are my full 4 main goals. So once that's done, I do that at the end of the month. I'm pretty much done because I've tracked everything, I've allocated the money, and then that's it. And now moving on to the next thing is I check at the end of the month if there's any fraudulent charges. So I'll go through and I'll see, like, in each bank account for each credit card, if there's anything weird, anything that I shouldn't be charged for. This happened to me actually twice, where I've been charged for things that I have not purchased. So it's really important to keep an eye out for those things. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Fun fact, this actually happened to me a month ago, where my phone got stolen, and along with my credit card. So the person that stole my phone charged things on those credit cards, and it's just really important to keep an eye out and see everything that was charged that wasn't me, and then I had to report that. Actually, they were very quick and they fixed it, so that was good. But it's really important to keep an eye out on that. And then that is pretty much how I budget usually during the month. And then in terms of money mindset and things that have helped me save more and reframe my my mindset on finances, is mainly just going from fixating on the micros to just looking at that bigger vision, the macro vision. Because saving on lattes is great, but I also want to maintain the little joys in my life and applying that 80-20 rule. So it's not always like those little things that are going to make the big difference, but it's being conscious and being intentional about the big purchases in your life that will make a much more and bigger difference in your life than saving on those like $5 lattes, like they say all the time. So a couple things that I've not taken a note of is get credit cards, really good credit cards with really good cashback or rewards. So I have the Amex Cobalt one, looking for other credit cards that are good, but that one's really good. I can insert the perks right here, but you get 5 times the points for any restaurants, you get 3 times the points for transportation, and I think for every $1 you spend, you get $1 anything remaining. So it's a really good credit card, so I really like it, and you get great rewards at the end. So it can really help you and make a big difference, especially when you're booking flights or any of those things. Another thing that helps you get focused on the macro vision is maxing out your employer match. If your company has that employee share program, it's honestly really important to use that to your benefit and maxing it out as much as you can. And then another one that made actually a big impact on me while I was listening to I'll Teach You to Be Rich is buying a car you can afford. I think I'm pretty good with this right now. My car right now is just a 2008 Toyota Yaris, but in general, when I would be looking to purchase a car, it's not just about purchasing a car that has a decent price tag, but it's also looking at that entire car as a package, whether that's maintenance, that's car insurance, that's gas, the actual vehicle, like all of those things together as one, as opposed to just looking at the price tag. Because those salesmen, they're good, they do this for a living, and their goal is to sell you a car, but you want to be purchasing a car that's within your means. So those are the main things that I usually do. That's usually how I budget. At the end of the month, again, as I said, like doesn't need to be complicated. I usually like to keep things fairly simple. Pretty much once automate everything goes into my checking account. I have those 4 savings account, allocate money into each one of them, and then go from there. Check if there's any fraudulent charges, and don't dwell on the super small purchases, and be very intentional with the bigger purchases in my life. And then before going into the next month, there's a couple things that I like to reflect on. So one is, how much money did I budget versus spend, and how can I improve that? I always like to spend probably half an hour at the end of the month to reflect on what I can do better and how I can optimize, how I can be more intentional about spending my money. Do I have any big upcoming events that I should probably be budgeting on? Any like birthdays, events, Christmas, holidays, any important things that I need to be mindful of? And then before purchasing something, I do like to ask myself a couple of questions. This has become second nature to me, honestly, but I know at the beginning I really had to be intentional. So it's, do I really need this? Do I really need this item? Like when I'm looking at it, like how much use am I gonna get out of this? Second is, can I get this cheaper somewhere else, like either on Marketplace or anywhere else, like to purchase it from someone else secondhand? Third thing is, do I have something similar at home that could pretty much do the same job? And then a last question is, how often will I use this? I do this a lot with clothes, especially when things are more expensive. I try to divide things by cost per wear to be able to justify it, because I tend to like to wear the same pieces and wear those staples, so that really helps me. Otherwise, there's no point in purchasing something that you won't be wearing as much. So that is it. That is how I like to budget, and the money mindset behind that. So yeah, I'd love to hear about your thoughts and how you budget. What's like the #1 tip that's helped you be more intentional with your spending? What have you done to reframe your mindset? I'd love to hear that, and thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!